In 1951, at the absolute height of Cold War paranoia and the dawn of the atomic age, a silver saucer descended from the heavens and landed in Washington, D.C. It wasn't carrying bug-eyed monsters or death rays. It carried a quiet, dignified alien and a silent, terrifying robot with a message that would echo for generations. The Day the Earth Stood Still wasn't just another science fiction B-movie. It was a sophisticated and daring masterpiece that used the genre to ask profound questions about humanity's place in the universe. But the story behind the camera is just as dramatic, and in many ways more shocking than the one on screen. The making of this classic film was a battle against political blacklists, shoestring budgets, and the physical limitations of its own iconic creations. Tonight, we are pulling back the velvet curtain. We are counting down the top 10 shocking behind-the-scenes secrets of this 1951 masterpiece. From the real science hidden in plain sight to the unbelievable truth about who was really in charge, you are about to see this timeless film in a completely new and astonishing light. Let's begin the countdown. Number 10. The Professor's Blackboard is 100% real science. We begin our countdown with a detail that reveals the film's deep commitment to intelligence. In an era where sci-fi jargon was often meaningless gibberish, The Day the Earth Stood Still aimed for a level of authenticity that was unheard of. In the scene where the alien visitor, Klaatu, disguised as Mr. Carpenter, visits the brilliant Professor Barnhart, he corrects a complex series of equations on his blackboard. To the average viewer, they're just symbols, but they are very, very real. The production hired a team of physicists, led by Dr. Samuel Herrick, a respected professor of astronomy at UCLA, to ensure absolute scientific accuracy. The equations you see on screen are not random scribbles. They are genuine formulas describing the three-body problem, a real and incredibly complex challenge in Newtonian physics that deals with the chaotic and unpredictable orbits of three celestial bodies interacting with each other. It's a core concept any real interstellar navigator would need to solve. This small but powerful detail was a deliberate statement by director Robert Wise. This was not a fantasy film for children. It was a serious work of speculative fiction, grounding its extraordinary events in a recognizably real and intelligent world from the very beginning. Number 9. The Eerie Sound of the Future was an electronic experiment. Close your eyes and imagine the classic sound of a 1950s UFO. That eerie, gliding, otherworldly hum that has become a staple of science fiction. That sound was, in large part, invented for this film. Composer Bernard Herrmann, a genius who would later score masterpieces like Psycho and Vertigo, was tasked with creating a score that felt as alien as the film's visitors. He delivered a revolutionary soundscape that broke all the rules. Instead of a traditional orchestra, Herrmann built his score around two theremins, a bizarre electronic instrument played without any physical contact. He pitched them at different frequencies to create a disorienting, unsettling stereo effect that had never been used in a film score before. He then combined this alien sound with an unconventional orchestra of electric violin, electric cello, electric bass, multiple organs, and a massive percussion section. To push the boundaries even further, he experimented with avant-garde studio techniques like overdubbing and playing recorded tapes in reverse. The result was a radical departure from the lush, romantic soundtracks of the era, and established a completely new musical language for science fiction, a language of electronic mystery and cosmic dread that would influence film composers for generations to come. Number 8. The low-tech magic of a seamless spaceship. One of the film's most enduring and mysterious visuals is the seamless, perfect flying saucer. When it lands, a ramp magically appears from its smooth, unbroken hull. There is no visible door, no seam, no handle. In a pre-digital age, how did the filmmakers achieve such a futuristic and flawless effect? The solution was not complex technology, but pure, old-school Hollywood ingenuity. The visual effects team, led by Fred Surson, understood that any visible crack or seam would completely ruin the illusion of advanced alien technology. So, for the massive, full-scale saucer prop, Built for the landing scenes, the crew devised a brilliant, low-tech trick. They filled the seam of the ramp's door with common household putty. This putty was then carefully sanded down until it was perfectly smooth and painted over with a silvery finish to match the rest of the ship, making the door completely invisible. When the powerful internal hydraulic mechanism was activated to open the ramp, it would simply split the soft putty, creating a perfect, magical parting that appeared to come from nowhere. It was a simple, cost-effective, and absolutely brilliant solution that perfectly captured the feeling of an advanced, unknowable, and seamless piece of alien engineering. Number 7. Blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Director Robert Wise's commitment to realism went beyond just scientific equations. He wanted to blur the very line between his fictional story and the audience's real world. A key part of this strategy was his casting of the on-screen journalists who report on the aliens' arrival. Instead of hiring actors to play news reporters, he hired the genuine articles, casting some of the most famous and trusted voices in American journalism at the time. Audiences in 1951 would have immediately recognized the faces and authoritative tones of legendary commentators like H.V. Kaltenborn, Gabriel Heater, and Elmer Davis from their daily radio programs and newsreel broadcasts at the cinema. Hearing these familiar, trusted men describe the landing of a flying saucer in Washington, D.C. with the same journalistic gravity they used for real-world events like the Korean War or political updates was a masterstroke of psychological manipulation. It grounded the film's extraordinary premise in the audience's everyday reality, making the unbelievable feel terrifyingly plausible and immediate. It was a brilliant technique that made the film feel less like a movie and more like a live, breaking news event. Number 6. The US military wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. When you're making a major Hollywood film about a giant spaceship landing next to the White House and being surrounded by the army, you would typically ask the US military for cooperation, access to tanks, vehicles, and soldiers to add authenticity. But when the producers of The Day the Earth Stood Still approached the government, they ran into a major roadblock. The US Department of Defense read the script and, due to its strong and unapologetic anti-militaristic themes, flat out refused to cooperate with the production in any way. The film's central message that humanity's tribalism, aggression, and nuclear proliferation made it a threat to the intergalactic community was seen as deeply subversive in the intensely patriotic and paranoid climate of the early Cold War. The Pentagon was not interested in lending its support to a film that portrayed the US Army as being trigger-happy, fearful, and dangerously misguided. As a result, the military vehicles you see menacing the saucer in the film weren't from the Pentagon's official stock. The filmmakers had to find a workaround, sourcing the equipment from a local armored cavalry regiment. This behind-the-scenes conflict with the government underscores just how radical and brave the film's message of peace really was for its time. Number 5. The Star, who was convinced it was a flop-it, is now universally considered one of the greatest and most intelligent science fiction films ever made, a timeless classic. But during its production, its own leading lady, the acclaimed actress Patricia Neal, was deeply skeptical and reportedly thought the film was going to be a career-damaging flop. In the early 1950s, the genre of flying saucer movies was not associated with prestige or serious acting. It was the realm of B-movies and campy creature features. Neal admitted in later years that she found it incredibly difficult to take the script seriously. She feared it would be a silly, forgettable B-movie that would do nothing for her reputation as a dramatic actress. She reportedly had trouble maintaining her composure while delivering lines she found ridiculous, especially the now iconic alien phrase, Klaatu, Barada, Nikto. For her, it was just another job, a paycheck, and she was absolutely stunned years later when the film not only became a commercial success, but was critically re-evaluated as a timeless and thoughtful classic of the genre. Her initial reaction serves as a powerful and humorous reminder that sometimes Even the talented people making a film don't fully recognize the cultural lightning they have managed to capture in a bottle. Number 4. Casting an unknown to create a true alien for the crucial central role of the sophisticated alien visitor. Klaatu, the studio, 20th Century Fox, initially pushed for huge established stars like Spencer Tracy or Claude Rains. However, producer Julian Blaustein and director Robert Wise made a brilliant and counterintuitive choice that was essential to the film's success. They actively rejected these famous actors precisely because they were too recognizable to the American public. They understood a key psychological principle. A familiar face would bring the baggage of past roles and would prevent the audience from fully believing they were watching a true visitor from another world. They knew that if Spencer Tracy stepped out of the saucer, the audience would see Spencer Tracy, the movie star. They needed an enigma. The role ultimately went to the British actor Michael Rennie, who was a respected star in the UK but was relatively unknown in the United States at the time. Rennie's classically trained diction, his tall, imposing stature, and his dignified yet unfamiliar presence were perfect. He truly felt like a sophisticated, superior being from another world, not just a Hollywood star in a futuristic costume. This clever casting choice was a key ingredient in making the film's fantasy feel real. Number 3. The Blacklist nearly took out the film's moral center. The 1950s were a dark and paranoid time in Hollywood, due to the political witch hunts led by Senator Joseph McCarthy and the House Un-American Activities Committee. This political terror almost cost the film one of its most important performances, the role of the wise, Einstein-like figure. Professor Barnhart, the film's moral and intellectual center, was given to the talented character actor Sam Jaffe. However, during production, Jaffe was accused of having communist sympathies, and his name was about to appear on the infamous Hollywood Blacklist. The studio, terrified of any political controversy, nearly fired him from the film and reshot all of his scenes with another actor. It was only because the producer, Julian Blaustein, made a passionate and principled appeal directly to the powerful and staunchly anti-communist studio chief, Darryl F. Zanuck, that Jaffe was allowed to stay in the picture. Zanuck reluctantly agreed, but the damage from the blacklist was already done. It was a quiet act of defiance in a paranoid time, but this would still be Sam Jaffe's last Hollywood film for nearly a decade, until the blacklist's power finally began to fade. It's a chilling reminder of the real-world political dangers that surrounded this supposedly simple science fiction film. Number 2. The mighty robot Gort was surprisingly fragile. Gort, the silent, seamless, and seemingly indestructible robot, is the film's most terrifying and iconic figure. He was played by Locke Martin, who wasn't an actor at all, but an usher at Grauman's Chinese Theater, who was hired simply because of his astounding height of nearly 7.5 feet tall. But there was a major hidden problem. Despite his imposing and intimidating height, Martin was physically not very strong. The Gort suit, made of foam rubber sprayed with metallic paint, was clumsy, incredibly hot, and almost impossible to move in. Martin could only stay inside the suffocating suit for about half an hour at a time, before needing to be helped out of it. And in the famous scenes where the mighty Gort has to carry Patricia Neal and Michael Rennie, Martin was physically incapable of doing so. The crew had to use a clever combination of hidden wires, lightweight dummies for the long shots, and creative camera angles to create the illusion of his immense strength. The physical toll on him was immense. During one long take on the ship's ramp, Martin's muscles began to spasm from the strain, and you can actually see his arms twitching involuntarily in the final cut of the film. The most powerful robot in cinema history was, behind the scenes, a surprisingly fragile and struggling giant. Number 1. The shocking twist, the robot was the real master. And finally, at number 1, the secret that recontextualizes the entire film and reveals a much darker and more fascinating story. We watch the film and see Klaatu as the intelligent, eloquent master, and Gort as his loyal, powerful robotic servant. But the film is based on a 1940 short story called Farewell to the Master, and its title is far more literal than you can possibly imagine. In the original story by Harry Bates, the most shocking twist is that the robot, whose name was Gnut, was the actual master. Klaatu was not his superior. He was a biological assistant, perhaps even a disposable, artificially created clone, designed by a race of intelligent machines to interact with organic life forms. The ending of the original story has the human protagonist discovering this staggering truth when the robot finally speaks, referring to the deceased Klaatu, but making it chillingly clear that another one could easily be created. The implication is staggering. The true power, the true intelligence, and the true master was the machine all along. The film adaptation reversed this dynamic, placing the human-like alien in charge, likely to make the story more relatable and less frightening for audiences of the time. But the original concept presents a staggering and, in 2025, perhaps more relevant and prophetic idea, that the true superior intelligence in the universe might not be biological at all. The greatest secret of the day the Earth stood still is that the imposing, silent robot was not just the guardian. In the original draft of reality, he was the god from the machine. From a physically weak robot who became a symbol of power, to a politically charged set that defied the government, and a secret about who was truly in charge. The story behind The Day the Earth Stood Still is as compelling as the film itself. It is a testament to the power of a great idea, brave filmmaking in a time of fear, and a profound message of peace that resonates even more strongly today than it did in 1951. It is a timeless reminder that the best science fiction stories are not about aliens or spaceships, but are in fact mirrors held up to humanity itself. The film's enduring power lies in its simple, urgent warning, a warning that was radical in 1951 and remains essential in 2025, that the greatest threat to our world is not an alien from the stars, but the division and hostility we harbor within ourselves. And that is why, even after more than 70 years, when this film speaks, the world still stands still to listen. If you discovered something new today, illuminate our day by clicking like and subscribe so you never miss a single story from behind the scenes of Hollywood. Which film do you want to see us break down next? Let us know in the comments.